Here.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight for our virtual forum on the capital project. We appreciate all the people who were able to watch us live. The recording will be, or the forum will be recorded and posted on our website as well. So as we begin tonight, my name is Jim Franchini. I'm the superintendent here in the school district. I just want to give the panelists a moment to introduce themselves. We'll start with Michael.
Michael Wiemat, Assistant Superintendent for Business.
Thank you. Callie.
Hi, I'm Callie Gasberry from Mosaic Associates Architects, the principal in charge of this project.
Jessica.
Hi, my name is Jessie Nogman. I'm one of the architects involved in the project from Mosaic.
Thank you. And last but certainly not least is Bill McMorty. And Bill, I'm going to have you introduce yourself, and then you are actually have co-host rights, so you can bring up the presentation and share your screen, hopefully. And Bill, I believe, is going to lead us through the presentation when he's ready with Callie.
Thank you. My name is Bill McMorty, as Jim said. I work for Saratoga Project Management. I'm a principal of the firm, and I'm going to attempt to bring up my screen, and we will begin our presentation. We will start off with, everybody see that?
Yes.
So tonight we're going to start off with the presentation, and there'll be three topics that we'll be addressing tonight in our presentation. First, Mosaic will start off with the design scope and review the items that will be included in the referendum. We'll also talk about the project cost, and then an overall schedule of going and getting to the referendum, and a rough schedule on design and construction. So I'm going to turn it over to Callie from Mosaic, and she's going to walk us through the scope of the project.
Sounds good. Thanks, Bill. So this project really has been pared back to the most critical items: safety and security, critical infrastructure, things of that nature, things that really need to be done now. So one of the parts of this project is new security vestibules at each of the buildings, and Jesse will walk you through those in just a minute. Building condition survey items, and for those of you who aren't aware, the state requires every school district to conduct a building condition survey every 5 years, where a team of architects and engineers walk through the buildings and identify items that are near the end of their useful life, and oftentimes past the end of their useful life. And then those items are prioritized. So we have several of those items here. Then there were also some items that were identified by the administrative teams on a building by building basis. The BCS, the last BCS was done in 2015, and gearing up, actually SED has created a little bit of a new schedule, so it has been more than 5 years. But since 2015, some new items have come up in buildings that the administration have brought to our attention, as well as the facilities team. We met with the facilities department and walked through every building. And, you know, as always, things have broken or deteriorated since the building condition survey. So those have been added to the list as well. And then, Bill, if you go to the next slide, I will turn it over to Jesse. Jesse will walk you through the security vestibules at each building.
Thanks, Callie. So these next couple of slides are going to show you, they're formatted very similarly. So the existing plan with a little bit of demolition is on the left of your screen, and the proposed would be on the right. So luckily, most of your schools already have a vestibule very close to the main office. So we're really going to be just making some modifications to each of those so that they're able to function in a more secure way and in a way that helps your staff know exactly who's coming and going from the main entrance of every building. So we'll outfit one set of doors with card reader access so that, you know, your teachers, your staff can come and go and not have to go through all of the extra steps that a guest might. But when a guest comes to the building, they're going to be able to come into the vestibule and they're going to be greeted at a transaction window. And at that point, they'll be processed by your front desk staff. And they will have the option to buzz them directly into the school or buzz them into the main office so that they can do whatever they need to do before heading on to the next step. So this slide shows the setup at the high school. And as we move through, you'll see here's the setup at Algonquin Middle School. We're gonna have to do a little bit more adjustments to the doors at some of these schools, as you can see here, to make sure that we can get the access both directly into the building and also into the main office. George Washington Elementary is also kind of an outlier. This is the one building where your main office is removed a little bit from the vestibule. So we're going to propose a very small addition adjacent to the vestibule so that you again have that secure transaction window and can directly see everybody who's coming and going. Here's the setup at Miller Hill. At Post and Kill, again, you can see some slight modifications to the size of the vestibule, the doors, but same end goal. This is at West Sand Lake, same thing. And Callie, I can pass it back to you.
Sounds good. So as I had mentioned, the building conditions survey was conducted in 2015 and a myriad of items were identified in that. A lot of those items have to do, they're critical infrastructure items, critical maintenance items, fire alarms, roofing replacements. There's a lot of roofing replacements in this project, roofing that is past warranty period or coming up on warranty period now. And that's something that you want to keep up with. Kitchen equipment upgrades and replacements, heating and ventilating system upgrades, electrical upgrades, and masonry restoration. Next slide, please. So here's just some photos showing you some examples of things that need to be upgraded, electrical systems, boiler water systems, and then roofing replacement. You guys have a lot of roofs and we're going to get them taken care of. Next, please. And then here's just some examples of the masonry work that we were talking about. There's, masonry that needs repointing. It doesn't seem like a big thing, but the more that it deteriorates, the, more unsafe these things become. Roof repairs and soffit repairs at Sand Lake in the right-hand photo, you can see there's some masonry issues there that really need to be addressed. Next, please. And then there are some additional priority items. These were previously, we had called them add alternate items. They were things that we thought, well, maybe, we could have them as alternates and deal with them if the budget came in well, but they're items that really do need to be included in the project now. Some examples are at the high school, there's moisture issues, heating issues in the bus atrium, people may be familiar with, adding an emergency generator. At the middle school, there's at the courtyards, there's some issues with the window heads, the steel at the top of the windows. And at Post and Kill, there's some issues with windows in the cafeteria and some potential wall issues. So things that we had thought maybe we could do a little bit later on have since really risen in priority. So we have included them here. And then I think, Bill, I'll turn it over to you to talk about the estimate and schedule.
Okay, thank you. So as Cassie laid out in some of the slides previous, our priority items revised, which were basically the items that were the add alternate items, the slide just prior to this, added up to about $2.7 million. And the bulk of the project, which was of the BCS and the items from facilities, administrative, security items, were $25,787,000. So that brings us to a total of $28,527,000. So as Callie mentioned, sorry, you know, we do have a lot of roofs. So the roofs for this project incorporate about 45% of the cost. We have a lot of square footage of roofs. So that would include not only the complete replacement of the roof and the membrane, but also flashings that have gone bad over the years, soffit areas. There are some chimneys and chimney caps that have cracks in them. So we consider all those really, you know, above the building and part of the roofing system. That has to be addressed at a number of schools across the district, along with the bus garage. So the total of all that, again, is $28,527,000.
Bill, could
Yes.
you just comment, because I believe those roofs are all 25 years of age or older, correct?
Yes,
Yes.
that's correct. And that's why we've done roof replacements in previous projects in the district. But these are the roofs really that were done in the last really large project, the $90 million project that was done over 20 years ago. So those roofs are coming of age and need to be addressed now. So just to talk about the referendum amount and a little bit about tax impact and SED aid, which is State Education Department aid. Remember, the district gets reimbursed from the State Education Department for items that qualify for state aid. Now, in our project, we're doing mostly building condition survey items. So they would account for what we call 100% aid reimbursement. So they qualify for that, but the district only qualifies for about 74% of that aid. The district's aid structure is 78%. It's called a building aid ratio. So for every $100 spent, if everything is perfect, the state would reimburse the district $78. So it's a 78% building aid ratio. Now we've used the number 74% in case there are some items that the State Education Department will not aid. So we're being a little bit conservative in the building aid projection, but it's somewhere between 74 and 78% of this project will be totally reimbursed by New York State Education Department. So as we look at this, we ask how much, you know, how would this affect my taxes as a taxpayer in the district? So the district would go out, and the way to fund this project would do a 15-year bond. So the current interest rates on bonds are extremely low, especially for public entities like ours, the school district, borrowing money, some districts below 2%. So it's an opportune time to go out and fund the project. And by taking advantage of these borrowing rates, along with some declining debt that we have from prior projects, we're able to lower our tax impact on this project. I think one thing we have to remind the people of is, you know, over the past 20 years, we've done over $100 million worth of work in the district. That work came at a building aid ratio of 95%, and that was due to the annexation of George Washington. So the taxpayers really only funded 5% of that 100 million, but that time has sunsetted. There was a time limit on that annexation, that additional aid. It's basically called merger aid. And so we are now back to our regular building aid ratio, which roughly, you know, call it 25% is now responsibility of the district taxpayers. So really, if you looked at the 5% over the past 20 years, we're now back at our normal ratio of 25%. You know, that's a 5-fold increase in the amount of taxes the district has to pick up and the taxpayers have to pick up on their side when looking at a capital project, whether it be this one or any one in the future. So just a little chart to give you a rough idea of what that impact might look like. For a $100,000 house, it would be $27.98. For 200,000, $55.96, and for 300,000, around $84.
Bill, before you continue, I just
Yep.
wanted to remind or notify people who are not used to the Zoom feature that if you have any questions, you can use the Q&A function. And those questions are being compiled by our communication specialist. And he's going to kind of group those, and we'll try to answer any questions people have as he categorizes them. So again, if you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the Q&A section. Thanks.
Thank you. So we'll take a look at the project timeline. So post the failed referendum last year, we regrouped and finalized some scope, and we did that basically between April and June of 2021 and finalized it by July. The board adopted that scope and set the resolution to vote on July 14th. We are doing our first presentation tonight, obviously via Zoom. And our next public presentation will actually be in person on October 7th at 6:30 in the high school auditorium. And that presentation basically will be the same presentation we see tonight, and we'll be able to obviously field questions in person at that time. So if you want to attend that and feel more comfortable with asking any questions in person, obviously that's a good time to attend. Again, that's October 7th, 6:30 in the high school auditorium. The referendum vote is October 12th from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. And just a rough schedule, if the vote should be approved, design would start immediately in October. And it'll take a couple of years for us to get this designed and submitted to State Education Department. We're going to do this currently. It's scheduled to be done in 3 different packages. We're trying to get some work done in the summer of 22, if that's possible, with our SED approval guidelines. It will depend on how long it takes to get an approval, but we would try to target some work, although it'll be probably small work, for the summer of 22, if possible. And then the closeout of construction would be last in the August of 26. So construction really won't start. You won't see much start until June of 22 at the earliest, and it'll run through August of 26 with closeout between August and December. And for tonight, that is our presentation. And Jim, I turn it back over to you.
All right, thank you, Bill. I do not believe at this time we have any questions. We'll keep it open for another couple of minutes to see if we get any. I did want to also mention that you will be receiving a capital project newsletter in the mail. Those newsletters actually were just mailed today. So hopefully in the next few days, you'll be getting your newsletter, which will provide this information to the public. It goes one to each homeowner. And again, it's a lot of the information you saw here tonight, but also some additional information that we hope you'll find useful so you can make an informed decision as you go to vote.
Right, so we do have one question, more of a statement, that we need projections for homes in the following ranges: 400,000, 500,000, et cetera.
Can we put the projections back up, please? Are you able to?
Yep.
Yeah, because I think one of the things that's important to keep in mind too on these projections are based on the full value assessment, not the the assessed taxable value. And there's a difference, and why we have to use the full value assessment is because each of the 9 towns assesses at different levels of full value for the assessed taxable value. So if you know your full value, that you can extrapolate that from your assessed value based on the uniform percentage of assessment that the town does. And you can see that actually on the full value and the assessed value are shown on the school tax bill and on your county tax bill that you're receiving in January. So you need to use the full value assessment, but it's fairly simple for a house that's $400,000 of full value. It's just the 5596 times 2. So it's just a matter of the multiplication. A $500,000 house, 100,000, it's 2798 times 5. We don't typically list, every sort of range like that. We just usually give 3, and folks will sort of make their own calculation based on where they are, because the range of taxable values, or I'm sorry, full value assessments is, from very small numbers to very, there's $1 million houses as well. So.
Thank you, Michael. One thing on the newsletter too, we did find one typo, and we just want to make sure we mention it. In the front of it, it mentions the polls will be open. I believe it says 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. It's actually 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. On the back of the newsletter, there's some summary information, and it's there correctly. So we just want to make sure folks know that the vote is open from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. on the day of the vote. Brian, any other questions?
That's the only question that came in, and we did solicit questions beforehand, and we did not receive any.
So again, in the publication, there was an email address. It's actually Brian's email address. If you have questions regarding the project, we certainly would be willing to answer those, and Brian gets them. Since the forum, this part of it's over, he'll certainly forward those on to the folks here who can answer them for you. So if you have any questions, feel free to email Brian or use the district website, which has the websites there where you can email us. Again, the newsletter will be out, should be in the mail. And we have the in-person forum coming up next week. The date of the vote is October 12th. So I think if that is the
We do have one question come in. Will there be more projects in the near future?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. I think we'll kind of see how this one goes. As was referenced earlier, we did do a previous vote with 2 propositions, and that was voted down. So we really wanted to get that message from the community and take from that project a scaled down version of what we deemed as critical based on the building needs and based on the security. At this point, there's no set plan for another project, or if there was, what would be in that project. We'll certainly cross that bridge when we get to it. Similar to what we did with the first capital project, we had a stakeholder group. It was a long-range planning committee that met to kind of assess where the community was and try to plan out what the needs were of the district as well as the wants, and get an idea of where folks were. So at this point, no set time, but certainly always evaluating the future, trying to be prepared for that as best as we can.
Right now, that's the last question.
All right, well, thank you to Jesse and Callie and Bill and Michael for taking some time with us, as well as Brian, our moderator and host. Have a great evening. And again, hopefully we'll see folks next week at the in-person forum. Thank you.
Thank you.